computer engineer is nothing but a toolbox for a mechanical engineer, right? So you are now solving problems in the digital domain, in the digital world. And then joining PICT helped me to kind of fine tune my skills for that as well. I installed Linux on a PICT computer, and that was the first installation of Linux in PICT ever. There's lots of experiences. I mean, right from when we had this college social addiction, we used to hold addiction in the front lobby here. We have to have a day session and a night session. The night session would be all rock music and plays and bhangra dances and stuff. So if you build a product that solves a particular need for yourself, it's very likely that other people having the same problem will like the product also. It was my first Formula One race in Austin, which I scrutinized. And so then I've been doing that since every year. At that time, funnily enough, Max was a 19-year-old kid, Max Verstappen.
Yes.
So he used to sit backstage and nobody used to take his autograph, and we used to hang out with him and chat with him, and now he's become world famous. By learning something new every day, you keep your brain active, you keep your motivation high, and you also build a good circle of friends in that new community. So for instance, I recently started flying. I'm learning to fly. So I finished about 100 hours of flying in a single engine plane, and I'm close to getting my license now. So once I get that license, I can fly anywhere. How do I manage my cash, right? So it's very important for everybody, right from day one, when they are in first standard, to be able to know how to manage money.
So, sir, it is my utmost pleasure and honor to get the opportunity to interview such an versatile alumni like you at PICT Gautam Godse, sir. So, sir, you build your career, incredible career.
Just call me Gautam.
Okay.
No, sir. Yeah.
You build an incredible career blending leadership, creativity, and innovation. So, we know you as a successful product designer. But, sir, we want to hear your story in your own words. Who are you beyond all of these titles?
That's a very deep question. Probably could take us all day, but I'll try to concisely state that basically at heart, I'm a product builder, right? I'm a problem solver and a product builder. I've had titles from CEO to vice president to whatever it is, but at heart, basically, I believe in solving problems. And I've been doing that since I was a kid, with the help of my parents. They nurtured me to always try to invent something, try to create something. So at heart, I was already an engineer before I came to PICT. My father, though he was a doctor, he was more of an engineer because he's always repairing things around the house. He would repair the fan, or he will make a engine motor work well. And that's because he was a farmer. His father was a farmer. So when he grew up on the farm, there was no mechanic to call if the motor broke down. So he had to fix it himself. Or the cycle that he used to go to school, if it broke down, he had to do it himself. So that quality came on to me and my brother as well. First thing my dad gave me was a toolbox, right, with hathoda, with spanners, with hammers and all of that stuff. So it was very natural for me to go fix things around the house. So I believe that is where it comes from a natural curiosity to solve problems, to fix things, and sometimes to my detriment. My wife always complains that I try to fix her problems and not listen to her, right? So that's something you have to learn as you mature, that some problems are not meant to be fixed. They're supposed to be listened to and then just empathized to. So, yeah.
Yes, sir. And you started your journey as a computer engineer at PICT, but then transitioned to becoming a mechanical engineer. So what inspired you to make this significant change? And was it difficult for you?
Actually, I was always a mechanical engineer before that, right? And my computer journey actually started before PICT. So unlike most students who joined PICT and saw the computer for the first time, I got to see the computer 2 years before that, which I was in school here in Pune called St. Vincent's. And the story of that is pretty cool. So the Queen of England in the 80s had a program called Computer Literacy and Awareness Among Students, CLASS. That was the name of the program. And for that, they donated 2 computers to, I think, about 10 convent schools in India. And one of the schools was St. Vincent's. So they got a BBC Micro, which is a really rudimentary computer. At that time, it was very advanced. It has 16 kilobytes of memory. Kilobytes, okay? And it didn't even have a floppy disk. You have to enter all the programs by hand. So we got introduced to that when I was in 11th standard in 1985. And that was my first experience with computers. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, this is the future. I told my parents wanted me to be a doctor like them. I was like, no way I'm becoming a doctor. I'm becoming a computer engineer. And so for 2 years in Vincent's, I just studied programming by myself. I used to go to Manny's bookstall, which is no longer there. and just sit and read the books over there because I couldn't afford to buy the books. They were expensive. So that's where my computing journey started. My mechanical journey started even before that. As I said, as a kid, I was making model airplanes, flying them. So it was very natural for me to be a mechanical engineer and fix things by hand. So computer engineer is nothing but a toolbox for a mechanical engineer, right? So you are now solving problems in the digital domain, in the digital world. And then joining PICT helped me to kind of fine tune my skills for that as well.
Sir, I also did my schooling from St. Anne's High School.
Oh, right across the St.
Yes.
Vincent's. Okay. Yeah.
And sir, as you said that your parents asked you to become a doctor, but you listen to your heart and your instincts. So that also inspires us that we should listen to our heart and instinct and not follow the conventional advice. So, and sir, you built multiple startups. So if you were to start a venture with PICT students today, so what cutting edge technology or what trend would you focus on and why?
I think you guys are spoiled for choice because you have so much cutting edge technology and tools available at your disposal that you can pick any field and use tools to solve that. I think right now the biggest field is AI, right? So generative AI, ChatGPT, Claude, Sonnet, all of these tools you can use too. So I think the focus should be more on what problems can we solve for society as general, right? Along the way, you can also make money on that. But the main thing is, okay, here's a problem that let's say today's society has. Maybe it can be traffic, maybe it can be disposal of garbage, maybe it can be drone delivery. We were just talking in the canteen like how hard it is to commute from place to place in Pune. So why isn't there a service where a drone picks you up and drops you in some other location? That could be a great project, right? So I would love to do things like that aim to solve problems that people have today using technology as a tool. Technology is not the primary money making objective. That should be the tool that you're trying to solve a problem and along the way make money. Right? So the goal is to actually solve problems and create some value. And the value automatically attaches monetary value also, if we create societal value.
Yes, sir. Your expertise and our fresh ideas can bring a lot to the table, sir.
I completely agree. So I always try to help students as much as I can.
And sir, you've invested a lot of your time in diverse hobbies like marathon running, blogging, playing guitar. So alongside with excelling in your professional life, so how would you inspire the students to pursue their hobbies alongside learning?
Yeah, that's a tricky question because that I've been getting that question all my life. How do you manage to do all these things at once? And it's unfortunately, you need to have a personality like that. I know that most people don't have my kind of personality, which is very outgoing, gregarious, curiosity seeking. But I think there is a way you can balance things out. Right, so you should, as a student, cultivate other soft skills, as I call them. How to present yourself, how to speak, in lucidly in any language. Doesn't have to be English. You can be a great speaker in Marathi or Hindi or whatever is your comfortable language. But then you learn to share your ideas through that, right? So there is way of that personal appearance. Then also how you carry yourself. You can learn all of these and then cultivate some hobbies. Right, so playing guitar was a hobby for me. I dropped out of PICT for 2 years to do that. Ooh. So when I first joined PICT in '86, the subjects didn't interest me because they were not computers. I was learning strength of materials and thermodynamics and drawing, and I was like, "What is this got to do with computer science?" Because remember, I was spoiled because I'd already learned programming in 11th and 12th. So I thought I would learn more programming, and then I was confronted with these, mechanical engineering subjects, and I didn't have any interest. So I was like, okay, and then I gravitated towards guitar and I started playing in a band and I dropped out of, I had lots of ATKTs like you guys know. And so it's not like, I had a spectacular, educational career, but that happened later on. Because by the time I realized after about 2-3 years of doing that my real interest lay in hardcore computing, then I completely switched my focus to that, and then I just did a successful graduation in that. Finally, I graduated with distinction from PICT anyway. But I think the thing is, people don't have the ability to take risk. I take risks. I didn't care about my parents yelling at me for not doing well in college, right? I had 2 years of ATKTs. Like they thought I was a gone case. I was never going to recover from this. But I think you need to have conviction in your own self, and then the confidence that yes, if I jump into the deep water, I should be able to swim. Right. So that is something that I would encourage students to have is a sense of risk-taking ability. And that arises from confidence in the subject matter at hand. If you have complete confidence and expertise on that, you can take the risk because you know what is the outcome of that risk. right? So knowing the outcome helps you take the risk better. So if you knew what the depth of the swimming pool was and you jumped into that, you know, okay, at the most I can sink 20 feet, right? So that is the way I think you can balance out doing a lot many things by knowing what you like, knowing what the risks are, and then always being curious. Lots of people just fail at being curious, right? So always ask that question.
So these words will really help with the personal development of the students as well. And so we all are extremely excited to know about your journey as a scrutiner at the FIA. And how did you gain interest about Formula One?
Yeah, that's a nice story. I think lots of people are quite surprised as to
Yes.
how this happened. For me, again, it was I never say luck because luck seems very contrived, and it is all the things you have building up to that point which made it seem like luck, right? So this happened because one of my friends who was my neighbor back in LA, he and I, he's older than me. He's 15 years older than I, but we have common interests like motorcycles and cars and stuff. So we used to go riding together. And then he got into scrutineering by chance while he was watching a race. And then that was in 2011. And then 2013, he did that for a couple of years. And I didn't know about that. And then 2013, he said, hey, we have this race and we're short of scrutineers. I was like, what the hell is a scrutineer, right? I had no idea then. So he explained that to me what it is. Basically, it is a kind of a overseer for a race that scrutinizes the race, right? And the race includes the car, the crew, the garage, and everything within the time of the race. So that's how. So I started my first one in 2013 by doing what is called the World Endurance Championship race in Austin. It is a 6-hour Le Mans race. So there are 3 categories: LMP1, LMP2, and GT, which is Le Mans Prototype 1, Le Mans Prototype 2, and Grand Touring. So these are 3 categories of cars that race for 6 hours with 2 drivers swapping out. So that was my first scrutineering experience, and I loved it because I being a mechanical computer, everything was right for me. So I did that for a couple of years, and then in 2016 I got the chance to do a Formula One race because all these scrutineers are the same team that works all the races in America. So there's a Formula E, which is electric Formula One. So I don't know if you guys have seen that, but there are they look exactly like Formula One cars, but they're all electric, and they go like ridiculous speeds, right, without any noise. So Formula E, I did Formula E races as well, and then 2016 was my first Formula One race in Austin, which I scrutineered, and so then I've been doing that since every year. So what a scrutineer does is they are actually official representatives of the FIA, the Federation International Automobile, which basically oversees all Formula One races and Formula E races and WEC championships all over the world, like all car racing basically. So we represent them on the ground in the garages, and we get assigned usually a garage out of the 20, let's say Formula One garages or 10 Formula One garages. We'll get one team assigned. So in Miami, I had Ferrari. In Vegas, I had Stauber. So you get different ones, so you can experience different cars, different crews, and we are basically watching as to do they adhere to the rules of the game. We are given a set of rules. We are given training as well about safety, about what to watch for, and how teams try to gain an advantage, cheat. So when you say gain an advantage, that means cheating. So we try to catch them at that and make sure that they are doing things safely. So it's a really great and wonderful experience, very intense because you have lots of downtime, but then followed by very short bursts of activity. So Thursday is the setup for the race, Friday is practice, Saturday is qualifying, and Sunday is the race. Okay. And all these 3-4 days, you are constantly, working with the team during the race, and the qualifying is only like I think an hour, right? So it's a very short time they actually race, but before and after, there's lots of work to do. So it's a wonderful experience. I encourage everybody to become a scrutineer.
And sir, who is your all-time favorite driver?
I would say still Lewis Hamilton.
Oh.
Because I grew up with him, and I first started in 2016. He was the champion. And for 2016, 17, 18, 19, until then. At that time, funnily enough, Max was a 19-year-old kid, Max Verstappen.
Yes.
So he used to sit backstage and nobody used to take his autograph. And we used to hang out with him and chat with him. And now he's become world famous.
And sir, which team do you support?
It's complicated now because everything has changed. All the drivers have changed. Hamilton is now Ferrari. Sainz has gone to Williams. So I don't know. We'll see. Right now, I feel Ferrari has a strong team, and we'll see if George Russell and I forget who's the new Mercedes driver. can pull it back to Mercedes. So we'll see that. So right now all bets are off for 2025. We don't know which team will become the champion. So it's going to be an exciting time actually.
True. And sir, as we know that these cars need to be fashionable, durable and safe at the same time. So what do you think is the key ingredient to build a successful product that will resonate to the user?
I think science, right? At the heart of these cars is heavy science. Just like, people don't understand how intense, deep the science is in terms of like them having to watch, micrometers and nanoseconds and that kind of telemetry that they have, right? It's almost like a rocket. The telemetry data that is spread. So I think a lot of science is involved, and that is what makes it exciting because they're pushing the boundaries of physics. So for instance, when a Formula 1 driver takes a turn, he's getting subjected to about 5 Gs of gravity on his head at that turn. Every time, not just once, every time. So imagine that if you have 54 laps, every turn, let's say there are 5 turns on the circuit, every time he gets subjected to those intense forces because he's pushing the physics of the car so much. People don't realize, maybe coming to Dhankavadi, you might be subjected to those gravitational forces with those bumps and potholes. But it's science, I think, that makes it really exciting. And then ultimately, everything is a layer on top. The look and feel, the fashion, whatever is that. If the science is not accurate and great, nothing will work.
And your deep understanding towards all of this, inculcates the deep appreciation for us also for motorsports, and your understanding for the customer's need is also appreciated.
Yeah, I mean the customer's need comes from being a customer yourself.
True.
Right? So if you're designing a product, you have to walk in the shoes of the customer. So you start with that use case, saying if I was built, so most successful products have been built by individuals that wanted to solve a problem for themselves. So they wanted to build the product for themselves. Like, take an example of Apple. So they wanted to build a music player for themselves. So they made the iPod, right? They wanted to build a phone that they will use daily. They made the iPhone, right? So, and the original computer, like the first Apple computer, Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs wanted to build it for themselves, right? And they built it, and then they found, other people also like it. So if you build a product that solves a particular need for yourself, it's very likely that other people having the same problem will like the product also, right? So you keep that in mind, that you are the first user of the product. So always be the first user of the product. That way you can solve the problems yourself. And as you build different versions, always continue to being the first user of the product. Otherwise, you will not be able to understand how to be in the user's shoes. I'll give you an example. I'm sure you guys have used banking website software, right?
Yes.
They are so archaic. I wonder if those people who made them actually use them.
No.
Right? I mean, there are forms that you have to fill and then non-intuitive OTPs and like what the hell is happening, right? Nobody's actually who's designed it has used it. And that's the problem. If you don't use it daily, they use it during testing one time. They do QA, chal raha hai, it's working, right? Then they think everything is working. But now imagine 50 million people using the same form. Now the problems are different. Now the scaling is different. So they haven't thought, if there are 50 million people that might use this form, right? So to have that understanding of what it means to scale a product and actually using the product 50 times a day, right? Then those problems start, becoming apparent. And people don't think through all of that, mostly.
That is true, absolutely true. And sir, what advice would you like to give the students who are aspiring to patent their ideas? Like, how should they go through this process?
I'm in mixed feelings about that because I feel patenting an idea really doesn't have a lot of value nowadays. Because I always believed in sharing all my ideas. The critical point is who is passionate about the idea, right? I'll give you 5 ideas and you'll think all of them are good. But unless you're passionate about one of them and actually execute them to success, it is of no value. So I don't care about sharing that. Patenting is actually maybe good in a way for certain industries where you have, let's say, machines that you want to patent or a process you want to patent. And the patenting process is now online, pretty simple, even in India or the US. In fact, in the US, you can actually apply for a provisional patent for as little as $100. And you can get a provisional patent for, I think it's 1 year. So that means that if somebody else decides to file a patent, you have the honor of doing it first, right? The chance of doing it. So a provisional patent can be a start, and then you can build and you can file the patent yourself. You don't need an expensive lawyer to do that. You just need to know how to do that. And now, luckily for you, there's ChatGPT. So you can just ask ChatGPT, hey, how do I file a US patent? It'll give you a step-by-step process for everything.
But the step-by-step process, but the students now use ChatGPT to actually create the documentation, which is wrong. And how would you not suggest the students to do this?
No, I don't think that is wrong. I think, see, okay, if I told you to calculate some mathematical formula and I give you a calculator, is that wrong to give you a calculator?
No.
No, it's a tool. So ChatGPT or any of these generative AIs are tools. Your original idea is your original idea. How you use a tool to refine it and find a solution to the problem doesn't matter. You can get the help of people or you can get the help of programming, of computers, right? So yes, I definitely feel that you should use these tools to generate documentation, even generate code, right? Why do you need to learn programming anymore? Because ChatGPT can generate much better code than you, right? And it can write all the tests also, which most people are lazy not to write tests, right? So let the heavy work, heavy lifting be done by a tool, by a robot, by a generative AI, and you focus on the original ideas. So you come up with an idea how to solve this problem and then tell ChatGPT, hey, here's a problem I want to solve. Help me write a program or app or whatever it is, right? So I wrote a few apps in the last couple of months to help me. You know, I wrote a stock app to monitor stock prices. It took me about 20 minutes with ChatGPT to write that. But the thing is, I knew how to tell ChatGPT what the solution was, what I needed. So I think that is more important to be able to express yourself as to how you want to solve a problem or what even the problem is, right? And then use that information to come up with solutions using ChatGPT just like a tool.
Yeah, so basically you should use it as a servant who will assist in your day-to-day life.
I hate the word servant, I would say assistant.
Assistant,
right?
True.
So Indians think about servants, but it's an assistant and it's truly like Jarvis in Iron Man, right? So think about that. Jarvis is nothing but ChatGPT now with robotic arms, right? So hopefully one of those will come true soon.
Definitely, sir. And sir, what do you think, in what ways do the alumni contribute towards the growth and the success of the institute and the students?
Well, I think the biggest thing is they are a brand themselves. They are successful in their areas so that they get recognized. People naturally ask, oh, which college did you go to, right? Then it turns out, oh, it's PICT. So first of all, that's the first thing. They are very successful in what they do. Secondly, alumni have a real good attachment to PICT because we are a small college.
Yes.
Like now maybe it's big, but when I joined, it was one class of like 50 people, 50 students. That's it per year.
Okay.
So one class, but then I think we had two classes in my third year. FE started with two classes. So now there are just too many kids. But even then, it's smaller than most other colleges, right? So it has a good chance to have the students bond together, even though there are different disciplines, IT, com science, electronics. You guys do common events. So that bonding helps people identify alumni later on in life, and they can look back with nostalgia on that. So that's one thing. And then we have started the Alumni Association in the US. We have an Alumni Association in India. And through that, we are doing projects to help the students out. Basically, again, pushing technology, getting you guys ideas, funding, equipment, and that you hopefully will leverage to move ahead and come up with your own ideas and drive this further.
It's true. It's really inspiring for all of us. And the contribution that you personally have given for the Automo Club or the 3D printer and everything for the college is really commendable, sir.
But that I feel is very small. I mean, I don't think that from my point of view, we should do more, which we will. But I think that all I do is, ignite a spark. And then the responsibility is with you guys to come up with ways of leveraging that spark. And I'm glad to see that both with the cart as well as the 3D printing, you guys doing a fantastic job using those daily. Because I've told the staff, if that doesn't get used, then there is a problem. I want those things to break down, get fixed. Because if you're not using them, they won't break down, right? So breaking down is a sign of usage, right? And I saw the 3D printing work log and everybody's using that daily, which makes me really happy because that's what it should be for.
True. And sir, your contribution towards the financial society is also helping. You had a seminar right now. So what inspired you to start financial education at PICT?
Now that is a really, really, really good question because I feel that that's one aspect that is ignored at every point in our lives, right? Right from when you're a kid in school to when you are working, you got your first job. Nobody teaches you about finance. Not the students. I'm sorry, not the school, not the college, not your parents. Unless your father is a CA or something in finance, he'll give you some rudimentary advice about finance stuff, and not in your job. So the first job you get a salary and you're supposed to do what with it? Like, okay, I made like whatever, 50,000 rupees this month. What am I supposed to do? How do I manage my cash, right? So it's very important for everybody, right from day one, when they are in first standard, to be able to know how to manage money. And I felt that because when I had my first startup back in 1993, which makes me very old, I really started earning a lot of money suddenly, and I didn't know what to do with the money, like how to manage it. So luckily for me, there was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Anil Lamba, who runs finance classes in Pune. And I went through his 10-week course on corporate finance, on personal finance, and that really set me up for the rest of my life. Because then I could, and that was at the age of 25, I think. I was 25 then. But I had to seek that information. So not many people realize that they need to have this information. So that's what I'm doing. I'm creating the awareness that you need to know how to run a household. You need to know how to run a business, because a household is a business, right? Your parents are running a business, and the business of the house. They have kids, they have dependents, they have to spend money on the education, they have to, buy food, they have to create savings. It's nothing but a business, right? So having that knowledge from early on really helps you set up for anything in life, not just a business, but for your own personal life as well. When you get married, when you have kids, you need to know how to run and balance that as well. So that is my motivation in starting these educational classes. I'm doing them online also for anybody between the age of 16 to 25, 28. And I'm glad I got the opportunity to talk to the students last week, and hopefully some of them took it away and will act upon it.
And sir, what do you think? Is financial literacy preceding the technical literacy?
100%. 100%. I mean, if you don't know how to manage finance, you might be the best engineer, right? You might write the best code, but unless you can sell that or make money off that and be aware of how to do that, you will not be a success, right? I feel that everybody, not just men, women, but kids should know about finance from day one, and that becomes your driving factor in having an understanding of the world. Because unfortunately, as I said in my seminar, happiness is tied to income, right? Lots of people, exit that rat race and become happy, not worry about money. But that's a rare breed, right? There are people who do that. But for others, they just feel that they are caught in this trap of a job and a salary cycle. And there are ways to exit that. There are ways to watch out for yourself. And that is by educating yourself.
That is truly a holistic view to all of this, yes.
There is, yeah.
And sir, can you share any of your memorable experience from your time at PICT that you still value?
Oh yeah, there's lots of experiences. I mean, right from when we had this college social addiction, we used to hold addiction in the front lobby here. We have to have a day session and a night session. The night session would be all rock music and plays and bhangra dances and stuff. So it was a very exciting time for that. The most memorable for me is actually how I reset my career into computers back in PICT. And that was coincidentally with a trip we did to Mood Indigo. So people know Mood Indigo, yes. It is the IIT Bombay festival. And I remember it was 1991, I was in my third year engineering, and we were going to Mood Indigo as a PICT contingent. We participated in their competition. We won a couple of awards for RagMag and a couple of other things. And then one night, I think we had finished the events and I was walking back to my hostel. They put us up in the hostel and I saw the computer lab open. So I said, okay, let me check out what an IIT computer lab looks like. So I walked into there and there was nobody there but one guy in the corner sitting and working on something. So I went up to him and I introduced myself. Hey, I'm so-and-so from PICT and I'm here for Mood Indigo. What are you doing? So he showed me something at that time which nobody had seen, Linux. So he had downloaded Linux from the internet. I didn't know what the internet was. This is 1991. So IITs had ERNet, Educational Research Network, which was the precursor of the internet. So he had downloaded a new operating system called Linux. And I was always a fan of Unix. And Unix was very expensive at that time. We had BSD Unix, we had there's another one, Bell Unix. So it was very expensive running on mainframe computers. Nobody had run it on a PC. And here was this guy running Linux on a PC. So I was completely bowled over. So I said, hey, can I borrow this? Can I copy this? He's like, do you have any floppies? I said, no, I just came here without. Like, okay, hold on. So he went back and that kind soul gave me 33.5-inch floppies, copied it for me, and I got it back to PICT the next day. And I installed Linux on a PICT computer, and that was the first installation of Linux in PICT ever, right? So that changed my career trajectory because I loved that operating system. I loved the subject. I got good marks in Unix. We had a subject called Unix in third year. So because of that, I got some good marks over there. But overall, that opened up my mind for free software. right? Because Linux was essentially free software. You can download it, run it, and distribute it to anybody else. And that changed my concept, because before that we were all pirating software, because we couldn't afford Microsoft Windows or 3.1 or WordStar or MS-DOS. These are all character-based software, not even Windows-based. So, and those are all sold, right, for money, and nothing was free. So it was always pirated in India because nobody could afford it. But then here comes Linux, which is completely free. You can do whatever you want, and you can run any kind of program on it. So that was a revelation from me. And then bringing that to PICT, and then we set up the first Unix lab here, because before that we had Novell NetWare, which was a networked operating system. So the Unix experience completely changed PICT's focus also. I think there's a lot of Linux computers now still. And now all our phones are running Linux. Essentially, Android is nothing but Linux. Mac OS is nothing but Darwin, which is a version of free Unix. So that is the most memorable experience of me doing that. The other one was when I finished my BE, I joined the college in the R&D department. So we, for the first time, created a project with 8 groups of students. So usually finally a project, one group does it, 3 or 4 students. So for the first time, we did a project across 8 groups of students, and it was called Circuit Station, and it was building a circuit board layout printing software, right? So, we design a circuit, you can do it visually. And at that time, Windows, I think it was Windows 3.11 had just come out, and Windows NT had just come out. So we were doing graphical programming, so GUI programming. So that project, these 8 groups of students did that, and that was a wonderful experience, because we used to be upstairs over here in the lab. So there used to be a lab upstairs, and with computers, and all the students used to be there all night, programming, building the software. And that's when the first collaboration between different students that came about. Like, how do you work with 8 different teams? Somebody's writing this code, somebody's writing that code. How do you compile them together? So that is a very innovative approach towards projects and doing collaboration, and that's one of my most memorable moments over there.
Sir, in one of your LinkedIn posts as well, you've mentioned that looking back at the 40 years, I still feel I have more to achieve. So you've already done so many things. So what inspires you to do more and more and more?
Yeah, you should ask my wife. She's very frustrated with that. I think it is again, curiosity. Like, I've been eternally curious as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, and then as an adult also. I feel still in my head I'm 25. Right, so I feel like I've got my whole life ahead of me. Right, 25 more years, then I'll be 50. But I'm already 55. So for me, it is the hunger to learn, to always be a student, and not think about why can't I? Like, if somebody tells me you can't do this, then it's a challenge. Right? Why can't I do that? Right? So I always try to push that boundaries, and then I feel that by learning something new every day, you keep your brain active, you keep your motivation high. And you also build a good circle of friends in that new community. So for instance, I recently started flying. I'm learning to fly. So I finished about 100 hours of flying in a single engine plane. And I'm close to getting my license now. So once I get that license, I can fly anywhere. But because of that, I'm now in the Desi Pilots WhatsApp group of America. Right? There are 120 of us, right? Actually more than that. But now I've discovered this whole new community, and these people are like-minded people like me, all pilots, all engineers, mostly, all doctors, all scientific people. And then I get tapped into that community. So if I want something, or if I needed some experience, or I need some guideline, it's very easy to access that. So this is another way of making friends, for instance. So always be learning something new, because that exposes you to a new community of people that are learning that same subject. It can be learning German, or it can be learning to fly, or it can be learning pottery. Whatever your interest is, if you create some passion in that, you will automatically get tapped into a group of new people that will help you. And I find that our real wealth is our network of people, our friends, right? Because then you can understand society better through them. You get exposed to different ideas, because the ideas that these pilot groups have is different from, say, my tennis group. I play tennis also. So right now, these two people have very disparate backgrounds and disparate ideas, and that enriches my life. Right? So if I want to solve a problem, I can think laterally. I don't have to think like a pilot. I can think like a tennis player, or I can think like a computer engineer, or I can think, like a Formula 1 scrutiner. So that exposing yourself to different areas helps you problem solve better, because now you can think in different perspectives. If you are just, let's say, doing one subject for 20 years, then you become really good at that. But then given a problem in some other area, you can't solve that. Or you cannot apply the knowledge from another area to this area. And I found that most often I do that. Like I'll suddenly come up with an idea and people say, how did you think of that? Well, I do it this way in this area. So why can't we apply it this year to this area also? So it's like that. So you can juxtapose and transfer ideas from different areas and always be curious into learning something new. Learning should give you joy, right? Yes, I mean, it's painful to give your test and get marks, but that is not learning, right? You're not literally, you won't learn anything in engineering in the 4 years of giving exams, right? And I can say that confidently because I've gone through that. And I know you agree with me because you're laughing there. What you learn is everything else around it, right? You learn to value your friends. You learn to value your teachers also, because some of them are inspiring and they do teach you things beyond the curriculum, for instance. So there are other things to learn as well. So keep yourself open. Always keep an open mind, open book. And that way you will learn to be self-motivated and you become an inspiration to others, right? So you see somebody, oh, hey, that guy, he's such a bookworm, but he can speak so well in people. So what is he doing differently? What is she doing differently? So you get inspired by those people, right? So those are things that you need to constantly be aware of.
So, sir, is this excitement and this enthusiasm also leading to you becoming a full-time novelist? As you said, you want to become a full-time novelist.
I feel that because ever since I was a kid, I've been writing, right? I have a blog. I used to have a newsletter back in the early 2000s called Gautam's Gyan. In a sarcastic way. And then I started my blog called Paper Circuit, which is a tech blog. I keep writing about my experiences, my love for gadgets and technology. I also started my personal blog recently after both my parents passed away, so that I can kind of like remember them and remember my childhood and share that with them. So I always wanted to write. I in fact did a writing course at UCLA in 2003. And I got very good encouragement from the teacher saying, you should continue writing. And that's when I started like building ideas for novels. So I have published some of my short stories and essays and poems also. But now I'm working on a couple of novels. And ultimately, I feel that is most satisfying because you have your original ideas. You're not dependent on anybody else except for your editor and publisher maybe. But when you're creating the product, which is the novel, it's just you, right? So it's just you, your thoughts, your writing and your skills and your experience that you're drawing on. And then you put that out and see if people like it or not. Because essentially, again, I'm writing it for myself. So a couple of novels that I've chosen, those are subjects that I like and I want to read that story. So if I write it for myself, I'm sure a few people will also like it, right? And that way, then it is satisfying for me to put my words out there, because one thing about words is they live forever, right? You can build a product like an iPhone, but it'll get destroyed in a few years' time because it's physical, right? But if you write a novel or a book or a poem or an essay, even today we read William Shakespeare. He's no longer there, 400 years later, or any of the Indian authors, right? So all of these last forever in human beings' imagination as well as in experiences. So I feel creating that kind of wealth in terms of words is very rewarding. And I've grown up on really good writers like Deshpande. I'm a big fan of that. All the Indian authors, Gulzar Saab, fantastic writer and poet. So all these have influenced me throughout my childhood and my adulthood. And I want to kind of like emulate that feeling. I don't want to copy them. I want to emulate the feeling of writing something good quality that people will remember, right? So that's where it comes from.
So your passion for all of this is also going to last long for us also. And thank you so much for sharing your insight and experiences. And this will definitely help us to navigate through our own journey also and make our own stories.
I wish you all the best. I feel really that as I said, I've done very little in my life, I feel, and I have lots more to do. So I'm looking forward eagerly to seeing what you guys do in the next 30 to 40 years. Best of luck and best wishes.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you for giving your valuable time here.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime I can spend with PICT and with young people who are learning is always a learning for me as well.